What is up? It is Maximus MMA bringing you my full card recap for UFC Fight Night Sacramento with Robocop taking on Fluffy Hernandez in the main event. We did really well on picks. We went 10-3, which I thought was really good here. A lot of tricky underdogs won, on which I picked quite a few of them. And also in the main event, of course, I did pick Gregory Rodriguez as the pick of the week, where he won as a pretty sizable underdog. Let's get straight into it, man. The main event was an absolute war. We did see RoboCop defeat Anthony Hernandez, and I'll play my quick little breakdown for this fight before it starting. In the main event, I'm rocking with Greg RoboCop Rodriguez to get the win over Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. Hernandez is proven to be weak to the body. RoboCop is an elite body puncher. And to the head, yes, Hernandez has stood the test of time so far, but when RoboCop hits people clean on the chin, they tend to go night-night. So I just see RoboCop finding a finish. People say he can gas out just because he gassed out a year and a half ago against Cannonier in a fight where he nearly finished him in two separate rounds. That doesn't mean he gasses out tonight. Give me Robocop to win the main event of UFC Sacramento as pick of the week. And as you can see, man, look, people like me, okay, people that really know this sport, we don't fall for the propaganda. I knew that the whole narrative that Gregory Rodriguez is going to gas out and Fluffy Hernandez is going to take over was pure propaganda. Look, yes, Anthony Hernandez had the great gas tank, but I knew that Gregory Rodriguez was going to invest early and often to the body and the legs. And what did he do? In the first round, you saw a pretty grappling heavy approach from Fluffy, where he probably won the round, but he didn't really do too much damage. And you could tell, and the commentators were saying it, Cruz and Bisping, they were like, hey, like, this is pretty draining on Fluffy. Then the second round, you saw Robocop really start to take over. You had the corner basically tell him something along the lines of, hey, now you go now. And Robocop, he went, and he was really just piecing Fluffy up with leg kicks. He dropped him multiple times with leg kicks. His lead leg was completely compromised. And yeah, man, Robocop almost found a finish. Did not find it, but clearly won the round. You could tell, like, man, Fluffy's not in great shape. Then in the third round, Fluffy comes out with a vengeance, and I kind of skipped over at the very end of the second round. Fluffy did have a little moment where he had a takedown and a big flurry for like the last 10 seconds, but definitely not enough to win the round. Third round, Fluffy's kind of doing his thing, but as time goes on, Gregory's starting to defend the takedowns a little better, right? Building to the fight. And then in the fourth and the fifth round, you just saw Greg had a little bit more in the gas tank. Maybe not exactly the gas tank, but the damage that Fluffy had taken to the body and to the legs was just starting to add up. The pop on the shots was completely gone for Anthony Hernandez. And look, Gregory Rodriguez is a fan of him. You got to be a little nervous because sometimes his chin is a little weird, right? Sometimes he gets knocked out by just random shots. So definitely something to look for as he continues to climb these ranks. But an absolutely cinema main event, a one fight of the night, and for great reason. It was great back and forth. And Gregory Rodriguez rights the wrong of the Cannonier loss, which I picked him to do. Look, Robocop is very good, super dangerous, well-rounded, absolute dog. And yeah, like, just what a win as a pretty sizable underdog. To me, it was crazy that you've got literal Robocop as a 2-1 underdog against a guy named Fluffy. Come on now. Great win for Greg in the main event, though. Cinema. He called out Dricus Duplessis in the post-fight interview. I thought that was a really good call out. Let's get Joe Pyfer or DDP for Robocop next. I believe the Robocop might have broken his foot, though, from all the leg kicks he was spamming. So he's probably going to need a good 6 months or so off, but it's well-deserved. So give me Pyfer or DDP next for Robocop. Then in the co-main event, we did have a wrong pick here. And honestly, I regretted this pick as soon as I realized that the reason why, because again, I'm the guy that believes in like the fight inside of the fight. I didn't realize that Spivak looked so good against Ante Delija, because maybe Delija is not that good, but because actually I believe his mother, or some significant family member, I believe passed away like right before the fight, so he had like those superpowers, right? So he was super motivated. This fight obviously was motivated, but Vitor Petrino kind of just took him to school with ground and pound, was able to find takedowns pretty consistently, and in a heavyweight, right? If you're on your back for the majority of your fight, you're probably not going to win. I mean, you get a 245-pound Vitor Petrino on top of you, raining down elbows, things of that nature, it's going to be a really tough night for you. Disappointing performance from Spivak, but a good win for Petrino. How far can he go in the heavyweight division? I don't really know. We're gonna find out, but he's instantly into the top 10. He's probably gonna be ranked like sixth or seventh, six, seven after this fight. So really good win for Petrino. Excited to see where this goes. As for Spivak, back to being the eternal gatekeeper, man. Like that's just who you are. So I'm sorry, but there's levels to this shit, man. Then we had Rainier de Ritter KO Roman Dolidze. Look, Roman Dolidze is an absolute disgrace, and I was saying this before the fight. I said that if Rainier de Ritter is all there mentally and he's healthy going into this fight, I just don't see a pathway for Roman to win. He's far too slow, and I just don't like his heart at this point. I feel like his heart was taken against Amavov many years ago, which I said in the breakdown, and yes, he got a couple wins against, mid-level competition after that. And, yeah, man, Roman Dolidze is a disgrace. He pulls guard in the first 30 seconds, proceeds to pretty much get flattened out and get ground and pounded, and eventually gets finished later in the fight. Good win for de Ritter because, right, you can only beat the man that they put in front of you, but I cannot put too much stock in this win. It was a good job by the UFC, though. Get de Ritter a finish, get him acclimated to light heavyweight. And yeah, like, dude, I mean, Roman Dolidze, just a low IQ bum. Like, why are you pulling guard in general in MMA, but especially in these 205, like, heavyweight divisions, man? Like, you can't get a guy like de Ritter who's probably, weighing 235, 240. I mean, same as the Pacino fight. Like, you have this big guy on top of you. Like, you're going to get your face punched in, dude. Like, I don't know, especially at this level. Like, you might be able to submit some low-level regional guy off your back at those weight classes, but in the UFC, especially a guy like Rainier de Ritter, who's a very good fighter, it's just not going to happen. So, terrible game plan by Roman, but I'm not surprised. He doesn't want to fight. He came here for a paycheck, and I think that was pretty apparent for anybody that watched the fight. So, good win for Rainier de Ritter. Good intro to light heavyweight. We'll see what he can do from here. Then, right before that, we did have an incorrect pick, but a pick that, again, I was spot on, man, with, like, these big favorites that lost. I literally put an asterisk on both this fight and the Larian Douglas fight we'll get to. And I said, look, I like Mason Jones. I think you have to pick Mason Jones simply based off the streak that he's been on. And also, everybody's a fan of Mason Jones. How can you not? This was a great fight. I really liked how Medeiros fought this fight as well. Like, a lot of people thought he was going to really be on his bike, and he was for probably about the first half of the first round. But then Medeiros kind of decided, like, hey, man, like, let's hook with the hooker. That's the old saying in boxing, and that can be a dangerous game, but it worked out for him, and he started to sit down on punches, trade in the pocket with Mason Jones, and he ended up landing big and getting a standing TKO. I said in the breakdown, man, that look, Mason Jones, he gets into wars, and the chin has held up so far. But eventually, you're going to get cracked when you fight the way that Mason Jones does. So, look, it happened to last night, and yeah, disappointing for Mason Jones, but a really good win for Medeiros, who, right, I mean, he's a good fighter. He's pretty slick on the feet. And if he can start to believe in himself in the pocket and sit down on some of these punches, he could be a guy to watch out for to break into the top 15 at the beginning of next year. So, really good win for Mikel Medeiros. For Mason Jones, obviously a slight setback. God damn, bro, this fucking bug. But, yeah, so it's just unfortunate for Mason Jones, but you live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword, right? So if your whole game plan is to overwhelm people, eventually you're going to get overwhelmed. That's kind of how things work in this sport. So great one from Mikel Medeiros, though. And a pick I got wrong with a pick that I said, hey, man, like at minus 370 for a guy that is due to get chinned eventually, you better watch yourself. Then we had a finish, actually, in a women's fight where Carly Judice, not too much to say about this. They kind of just stood at range, just kind of traded kicks and punches. Chavez looked a little bit hesitant, but again, it was only a minute and a half to the fight, so not super red flag. But then she takes a kick to the body and immediately folds and gets finished. So not going to spend too much time on this one, but really good win for Carly Judice. We need finishers in the women's division, so anytime we're getting a finish, especially an early finish, that we can get to the Mason Jones, Mikel Medeiros bout, hey, man, I'm a fan. So good for Carly Judice. She's going to have to get moved with the rankings pretty quick here because, I mean, if you're finishing girls like Hailey Chavez, who, again, hadn't accomplished anything in the UFC but was undefeated as a pro, she's a good fighter, man, and I like the finish. Then we had Anthony Went defeat Terrence the Blob Chapman. Look, Terrence Chapman, as we knew going into the fight, he's actually relatively quick for being a guy who, looks like a fatty. And Anthony went. He didn't look amazing, but he did get the job done. He ended up winning by triangle choke, choked Chapman out cold with about 30 seconds to go in the round. And yeah, a lot of this fight was spent on the feet, kind of jumping around, not really doing too much. Both guys probably relatively even, going tit for tat. Then eventually Anthony did get Chapman to the ground after Chapman stuffed the first takedown, which was a good look for Chapman. So is Chapman going to be anything in the sport? No, but he definitely deserves another fight in the UFC, so good for him. Hopefully he got paid all right for this fight. And yeah, Anthony went though. He's definitely going to have to work on his technique. I mean, Terrence Chapman had a Kimura attempt on Wint, and Wint like didn't even defend it at all. It was it was kind of weird. Like he just basically said, "Okay, I'm so strong, I can just muscle my arm out of this." And again, against a higher level jiu-jitsu practice, like guy, that might not work. So don't shoot Win too far up the rankings here. Still let him beat up some bums, right? And also potentially look to move down to light heavyweight. Look, man, he's not that. I mean, we talk about he's a brick shithouse, but he's not that tall. And again, like a guy like Aspinall size or somebody like that, which obviously that's a champ, but I just don't. His current style, he's very green. It's not going to work against the elite guys. So well, it's interesting to see how Anthony Wint's career will play out. And he might be a guy to fade in the future, but if he's fighting these fat guys, he's going to be able to get on top of and throw ground and pound and potentially submit like he did Chapman, he's going to be a pretty clear pick. So good win for Anthony Wint against low-level competition. And Chapman, give him another fight in the UFC. He at least came to fight. Then we had one of the biggest underdogs of the card get knocked out cold. Well, not cold, but in the first round. Look, this is one where I had a huge asterisk on it. I said, look, everybody in the MMA community is saying Larian Douglas is some world beater. He's got so much power. His boxing so clean, yada, yada, yada. He's 14-5. Like, I literally said, whenever you get a guy who's 14-5, and he's a massive favorite against a UFC veteran who's been winning recently, right? Jamal Emmers is not on the way out. The dog still got some fight left in him. And you got 95% of the community picking Douglas. I'm like, that's a huge asterisk. I was like, I don't know about that. I picked Douglas because how could you not pick Douglas? But so hopefully I helped somebody not put Douglas in their parlay, man, because yeah, like Douglas just looked terrible. He went out there, he just goes in there, he threw maybe one leg kick, and then after that just proceeded to throw overhands. That's all he threw. He just threw overhands and hooks. He might have landed one jab, then completely abandoned it. And yeah, Jamal Emmers eventually caught him coming in. And yeah, one thing that's underrated about this knockout was that Jamal Emmers I believe he landed like just a 1-2, or maybe just a 2 down the pipe, and Larian Douglas said, yeah, I'm good, and let's shelled up. He might have broken his orbital bone. But right before that, as I was watching it, probably 5 to 10 seconds before that knockout, Jamal Emmers landed a really nice knee to the body on Douglas as he came in. And I'm watching that, and I was like, that hurt Douglas. The commentators didn't say anything about it, but as soon as that knee landed, I was like, ooh. I was like, that was a nasty knee. And then you saw Douglas get finished right after that. Of course, he might have broken his face, but I'm saying that knee had something to do with it. If you're interested, watch it back. Those are the strikes within the strikes that people don't really notice, right? Because he took that big knee to the body. You're telling me that for those 5-10 seconds before Jamal Emmers put him out, that he didn't have in his mind, shit, that hurt? And that little relapse of focus, because he's thinking about how bad that hurt his chest body area, he got knocked out for it, man. Look, Larian Douglas gets sent way down. Good win for Jamal Emmers. Yeah, man, give Emmers some more prospects, really. I mean, guy that's not going to win the belt. He's already 37, but really good win for Emmers, so congrats to him. And stop hyping up these guys that are 14-5 as a damn world beater. You guys don't know what the hell you're talking about. And then we had Shamil the Balab Gaziev defeat Kennedy Nzechukwu. Look, this is a fight that I picked Gaziev because I said, I just don't think Kennedy Nzechukwu that good. He's got one good win in his career against Ulberg in his 5th fight in his career. And since then, he's been losing to bums, and he only beats bums. Kennedy Nzechukwu comes out dancing around like he thinks he's some floaty striker like Michael Venom Page. I'm sure other people have heard that comparison. It just looked ridiculous, and the announcers were like, hey, man, this is heavyweight. Like, you might want to put your hands up. And then as he exits the pocket, he gets his clip right in the chin, goofy KO. It was funny. Kennedy Nzechukwu goes timber, falls backward, he's done. Really good win for Gaziev. He gets some height back. I'm really happy about that because it's so much better for heavyweight that Gaziev wins than in Jeshiku. So good win for Gaziev. One where, again, I saw quite a few people picking Kennedy, but I was like, man, like, Kennedy's just not that good, dude. And he went in there and he fought like an idiot and he paid for it. So really good KO for Shamil Gaziev. Then right before that, we had Chris Padilla, another pick I got correct, who, yeah, man, he submitted Nazar Hakpras in the last round, literally like with a minute to go. And Nazar Hakpras was completely out cold. Now, we've seen it before where guys, they'll hold the submission past the bell, and then the guy goes out, and it's like, well, what the hell? It's kind of cheating in a way. But, yeah, man, Chris Padilla, like, he was winning that whole fight. Fucking hell, but a stupid bug. But, I think I got him. But, anyways, yeah, man, Chris Padilla looked really good. He had pressure on Nasser Hakpras. He looked a little bit tentative after that Killian Salkild KO. And I said that. I'm like, dude, you don't get KO'd like that. And then I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, even pick him against Chris Padilla. I'm going to be confident. Chris Padilla's going to bring the fight to you. He did just that. Wasn't the most eventful fight, but a really nice finish for Chris Padilla because people are going to remember the finish, not the kind of boring fight, right, from a casual standpoint. So, yeah, really good win for Chris Padilla. He's streaking now in this division. And as you can see, he again arguably beat Markel Medeiros, who just got the biggest win of his career, or Mason Jones, we already talked about. And he's undefeated in the UFC. So Chris Padilla certainly got to watch out for him. He's only 30. He's entering his fighting prime. Interested to see where he goes. As for Hakpras, unfortunate turn of events here. You get knocked out cold via head kick, and then you get choked out the next fight. Give him some time, man, to regroup, maybe reinvent himself, and send him back. Then before that, nothing really to talk about here. Look, Marcio Boversa beat up Ryan Coos, who was literally in there to be a victim. He looked like a victim, just looked scared on the feet, didn't get the takedown, and then the fight was over. So good one for Barbosa. Give him a guy that's actually going to fight back. Come on. Then we had a really good pick by me and a really good fight. Look, I think that both guys looked good in here. Stan Dorsonville, though, really just showed that he's a real dog. And look, Gage G Money Young, he's a dog too, man. But like I said, Gage Young is a good fighter. He's got a lot of heart, but there's just nothing about him to me that stands out like, wow, he's super good at this one thing. I think we kind of saw that. Like, Stan Dorsonville got dropped 2 times in the first round by Gage Young. You're thinking like, shit, this is the Gage Young coming out party. Good for him. Didn't get the finish, and then Dorsonville came out in the second and third round and just kind of out tit for tatted him. Really back and forth fight. Dorsonville was landing a lot of really nice elbows on the break, also kind of stepping elbows. Gage Young was landing some nice jabs, 2s down the pipe. And yeah, man, just a really good back and forth prospect fight. The good thing for Gage Young, I don't think that he lost any stock with this fight. I think that both guys' stock went up tremendously. I mean, for Dorsonville to be able to come in here and beat a guy like Gage Young, an experienced guy like Gage Young, in your debut, I think is a really good look. He won 2 rounds to 1, which I thought was the right scorecard. I saw some controversy on it, but again, like, if you watch the fight back, I do believe Dorsonville definitely won the second and third. But yeah, really good fight. Honestly, a shame that this was not fight of the night because Robocop and Hernandez turned out to be so great. Hopefully these guys got an extra paycheck, though, because I think that both of these guys do have a future in the sport. Excited to see where they both go. As for both of them, just keep giving them these, like, lower level unranked guys, right? No reason to rush things too much. Dorsonville is good. He's got a lot of natural talent, but there's no reason to rush him up to the killers of the division yet. He's still a little bit green, but there's definitely something to work with there. He showed a lot of fight IQ, landed some nice trips as well that I think were really timely and I think really affected the mental state of Gage Young in there. There was one in particular, I think it was either late in the second round or it was in the middle of the third round, where he just kind of body locks him and hit with a nice trip, Gage Young. You just saw his eyes after that. He was like, fuck, man. So very good win for Stan in his debut. Then we had another correct pick. Look, I know quite a few people were picking Wes Schultz. Wes Schultz is a bum, man. He doesn't want to get hit. I said that. I'm like, dude, against the 2 black guys, Pinas and Mansour Abdul Malik, he looked scared as hell. And what happened here? He looked all right on the feet. He actually had back control, I believe, against Jackson McVeigh early, which was a little dangerous for Jackson. But then once Jackson got up, he just seemed a little bit better on the feet. And then he landed a nice step in me up the middle. And Wes Schultz completely crumbles, goes down, quits. Wasn't really much ground and pound after that because, again, Wes Schultz was done. So, really good win for Jackson McVeigh. Like I said, I just think that Jackson McVeigh is longer for the UFC than Wes Schultz because I know that Jackson McVeigh is actually willing to go into the fire and fight. He's kind of a guy where he's kill or be killed. He's not going to give up on himself. And I've seen Wes Schultz give up on himself multiple times, which is essentially what we saw here. Obviously, that strike, that knee up the middle was very powerful, so I don't want to make it sound like, oh, Wes Schultz completely quit, but I'm not surprised the way this fight ended. And then before that, we had Chanel Dyer with a KO over Elise Reed. She won by being more manly. Said in the breakdown, not too much to say. Glad she got the KO. We need women that are getting finishes. So to get two finishes in two women's fights, it's a really good look. Yeah, man, hell of a card. Pick of the week one. So hopefully you guys went with that. And yeah, really good card on predictions. Really the only bad underdog chase I had was Spivak. And again, I regretted that as soon as I found out that the reason why, partly, he did so well against Delia was he had that extra motivation. But, I mean, I put a huge asterisk on Mason Jones, and I put a huge asterisk on, where's he at? Larian Douglas, right? So those were the parlay busters of the night. And if you watch my breakdown, you wouldn't have had them in the parlay. So looking forward to next week. I believe it's next week with UFC Shanghai. I believe. Let's check it. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're gonna get a daytime. Oh wow, it's like a freaking 3 a.m. card. It's crazy. But yeah, man. So see you guys next week. Looking forward to breaking down that card here soon. But as always, it was Maximus MMA, and I will see you in the next one.